We are rooted in our community. Streamers and creators, they are our trunk. Those of us who follow loyally are the limbs and branches. The saying root and branch is defined as entirely or wholly, which is why I chose this name for my new platform. For the streamers and creators that will be my guests are 100% in on making a change, speaking their minds, and expanding others. Welcome to Root and Branch. We are rooted in our community. Streamers and... Man, don't you hate when you hit the wrong button? Fuck. It's twice. Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for coming today. You crazy people know the deal. So we'll go ahead and get started with our first guest. And someone you probably all know. And someone who I love having on. And I was lucky enough to snag her again this month. So, Miss Vandisa, how are you?
Hello, I am doing well.
Good.
How are you?
You know, I'm not too bad today. I had my shot on Thursday and I felt like crap all weekend. And this morning I felt a little tired. And then by this afternoon, I was back to B. So, yeah. Yeah, so I'm all vaxxed up now. So.
Nice. Okay,
yeah,
cool.
Yeah. Got a little Pfizer. Got one shot in each arm. That way I'm magnetic on both sides.
Right.
Yeah. That was my plan. And no matter how I tilt, I got 5G now. So
right.
Yeah. Go wait for that to kick in. So basically I just start out asking people about their childhood, family dynamics, siblings, you know, that kind of stuff. So wherever you want to start at.
Okay, so for those of you who aren't familiar with my story or my background, I'm a New York City girl, a New York City chick, born and raised. I have 2 brothers. I'm a middle child. And I actually come from a big family outside of that. You know, even though it was just me and my brothers, siblings, my mom had 10 plus brothers and sisters, and so did my father, which means I grew up with a lot of cousins, a lot of aunts and uncles.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah. So yeah, I have a pretty big family, and most of us, my grandparents lived right around the corner. We all lived in the same housing development, or most of us did. And so my childhood was spent around a lot of family. Grew up with my my maternal grandmother and grandfather, very loud family, very loud. And you know, interestingly enough, in addition to my blood relatives, I also had the experience of my mother would take my brothers and I to library. She would take us to all these different programs, which really shaped and enriched my childhood. You know, I read a lot as a kid. As a matter of fact, I probably had like so much information shoved down my throat or shoved in my head. So, but one good thing is that I was also, you know, I was exposed to hip hop at an early age. You know, grew up in the 80s. You know, that was the culture. So yeah, I'm a Gen Xer. So, you know, we're in that in between. You know, we understand what it's like to sort of be in between that whole, you know, with the millennials and the Gen Zers, and kind of being tired of the boomers. So, you know, that was a very transitional time. So
it really was. It really
was. Yeah. 70s, 80s, and the 90s. You know, we saw so much, you know, growing up. And if you were in New York, you really experienced that. So, you know, it just really, and then my parents split when I was young. Split when they were, and so that was a pretty ugly situation. You know, I'm not close to either one of my parents, but you know, I certainly, you know, remember some things from my childhood that just really stuck with me. And there were a lot of good people. I had a lot of good mentors, a lot of good teachers, a lot of people who helped, just encourage me, to just be, just to be as best I could. But, I still had that streak of rebellion too. Because I was
Right.
I was a kid who got good grades in school, but with everything that was going around me, it was at times hard to concentrate. So
Oh yeah.
yeah, it was a very, very, again, interesting time. I didn't grow up sheltered at all. So I grew up, seeing a lot of the world and what was going on
Right.
around, being made very aware of certain things as a kid. And
Right.
so that just really, I think that's probably why like nothing really surprises me as an adult because of all the things I've seen, and experienced and learned growing up. It's like, well, what else is there? I just learned how to be more open
Right.
minded along the way. So,
Right. Right. Yeah, that's
yeah.
and it's funny because I grew up in the country, and when I talk to people who grew up in the cities, it's so much different. Although we knew everything that was going on, we constantly watched the news and stuff. We always knew anything in our region, and since I grew up in like Virginia, West Virginia area, we heard stuff about like New York and Pennsylvania, and so we knew what was going on us ran out. If you went down to the south or the west, we had no clue. They didn't tell us that shit back then. Yeah.
Right. And I think one of the major differences is that, in New York and bigger, larger cities, that there's
Mhm.
more access to information. When you grow
Oh
up in
yeah.
New York, you don't think that there's a world outside of it unless you travel. And there are so
Right.
many people in New York who have never left New York. And so they have that small town mentality.
Right.
It's like they may not even leave, if you've ever been to New York, that the city is made up of 5 boroughs. And so there are some people
Yeah.
who live in Queens who will never travel to Manhattan or what we call the city or the Bronx or, maybe Brooklyn or something like that. So
That's so
leaving the
weird to me.
state, yeah, leaving the
Yeah.
state is certainly not on their minds. And so, I mean, sure, there is a whole world inside of New York itself, but
Oh yeah.
there's nothing like experiencing, new cities and actually going, play and that was one. I had the opportunity to travel when I was younger to different cities, so I got the chance to see a world outside of where I grew up.
Right.
So I really appreciate the opportunity to have done it, and certainly I don't come from privilege. Like I said, I'm from the projects, from a
Right.
single parent home. So I am
Right.
that statistical kid that most people would talk, would refer to. So
Right.
that inner city kid. So
Right.
yeah, that's me.
Yeah.
But somehow I also got the opportunity though, and I, like I said, I appreciate it, to experience a world outside of my environment
Yeah.
and was able to have my mind expanded in a number of ways. And I know that many people whether they're in small towns or in big cities, don't have the opportunity to.
Yeah. No, I've never thought about it, but we used to travel to Rhode Island to see my nana. And this is after my mom transplanted us into West Virginia. So we saw so much. We drove right through everything. And
Yeah.
it was like, to us, we were like, wow, look at that big city. It was
Yeah.
huge because we were in the country. But yeah, I know it's good to go out and see new things and see that there's other people and other ways to live and so different from your own. So definitely. It was always a culture shock to me when we went into, and my mom lived in my nana lived in North Kingston, Rhode Island, which is like this big. And I
Right.
was like,
Rhode
wow,
Island
look
is
at this
already this
city.
big, so yeah.
Right. The city, yeah, the whole city, it's this big. And her town was this big, right? Well, that's good. So you did the typical went through school, high school into college thing, or what did you do?
Well, I went to actually a specialized high school. I graduated from the High School of Music and Art and Performing Arts. I was a vocal major, so I am a classically trained singer. I don't, I mention it, but it's not something that I
Yeah.
sort of, that I sort of speak on too much. But I did graduate from that high school, the Fame School. Lot of famous actors,
Oh my
actresses,
God, that was
dancers.
like my favorite
Yeah.
shit growing
Hmm.
up. I love that fucking show. I wanted to like go meet those people. I knew they were fake. It didn't matter. I wanted to go there and
Yeah.
check that shit out. Yeah.
Yeah, and
That's
I
awesome.
actually, yeah, I went to the building that where they merged the two high schools. They merged the High School of Music and Art, which used to be in Harlem, and the High School of Performing Arts, which
Oh, okay.
was like sort of Midtown Manhattan. And so they combined the schools, and the new building was right behind Juilliard and behind Lincoln Center. So that also was a wonderful experience that I had, because I also, even in my own neighborhood, I kind of felt like the black sheep. I knew there was, I knew I was a bit different, even from
Yeah.
my peers and my family members. And so having the opportunity to go to a school where almost everyone was weird, almost everyone was so
These are
artsy,
my kind of weirdos,
yes,
right?
yes. And no one judged you for being different. No one judged, of course, everyone was still into pop culture or what was going on, was trending at the
Right.
time, but no one judged you for being different, because we were all different.
Right.
And so after high school, I went to college for a couple of years, didn't graduate, but I ended up moving to the Atlanta area in 1997 after I had my oldest child, my daughter. Moved down here when she was 3 weeks old. Her dad and my husband now.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just, college just didn't. I really couldn't focus. I was working and going to school. I
Yeah.
was in a very, very, rough environment in my home. So, it was just, that was the best decision. That was one of the best life decisions that I made, was to relocate to the Atlanta area, which I had visited in high school. I was in the Upward Bound program
Yeah.
at Queens College with the City University of New York. And so one of our trips was drive on the bus down to Atlanta with a bunch of teenagers. We
Yeah.
had an opportunity to come down here and visit.
That's
And
awesome.
so when I was asked what I thought about moving, I was like, "Yeah, sure. When do we go?"
Tomorrow?
Yeah.
I'm ready tomorrow. I'll have everything packed.
Yes. And I think that was one of the, because and I think even my mother just still couldn't believe that I was leaving. She was like, "You're actually going to move all the way to Atlanta?" Because my brother he did one semester of college, went into the Navy, was only there for about maybe a year, and then came back home. So I guess maybe she figured that that was going to be the same experience with me, and I was like, "Oh hell no, I'm not coming back there." So I've been
Love
here.
you. Peace.
Yeah, right. I'm like, yeah, no.
Yeah.
I'm here to stay. And 25 years later, here I am, still still in Georgia.
Awesome.
So
Awesome. And so, so you were going to college up there and stopped, and then moved to Atlanta, correct?
yes.
Okay. And so when you got down to Atlanta, you never thought about going back to college. You just like jumped into work.
I did go, I one of the first things I did was I just found a little part-time job, at a Kroger. My
Yeah.
husband was working, and even just to get out of the house, my daughter was, infant, and he
Oh.
would work during the day, and I would, watch, I would be with her, and then I would work at night part time. So, because was never the type of person who wanted to depend on anybody. So
Hell
I
no.
just really, really, I just started working to just have my own money. And I eventually went to school and got my nail tech license. So I was a licensed nail technician for years. So I know how to do nails. So yeah, I always consider different career paths. I ended up working more in hospitality and
Right.
being a supervisor and a management. So that is where I was able to cultivate my people skills a whole lot more. So it was just, yeah, I thought, but I realized that I enjoy hands-on.
Right.
I enjoy hands-on experiences. I don't just like to sit in a classroom all day. Sure, I absolutely think that education is important.
Yeah.
And speaking of Rhode Island, my daughter graduated from Johnson and Wales University. That she
Oh.
went to the Providence campus.
Oh, good for
So
her.
yeah, she graduated
Very
magna cum
liberal,
laude.
open-minded
hmm
area. That's great. Good for her.
Yes. So education has always been, a focal point. Is We've always emphasized it, but education goes beyond schooling.
Oh yeah.
That's what people, the ability to educate yourself doesn't stop with sitting in a classroom or even
Nope.
graduating with a degree. So there's plenty of ways to be educated and to be informed. And so I've always taken that. And once it's once your family starts growing, and actually I have my husband has sickle cell anemia, so that
Oh.
has so in between me, working in various jobs where I've always looked for better opportunities.
Yeah.
Um, and so and now we have we have three children. So yeah, all of that really just it's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
And
3 kids are a lot.
yeah,
It's a
yeah.
fact.
Three
Yeah.
kids, sick husband, and just trying to, but also trying to make sure that my identity was not so wrapped up in my family that I lost myself.
And that's so important. Some women just want to have kids so bad they just become, and that's it.
Oof.
They're
Yeah.
mom and wife, and that's it. Yeah.
After my last one, I said I'm done. I'm not doing this again.
Did you make him clip it or did you get it removed?
No, I got it. I got the eSure procedure done. It's a procedure that is it's non-surgical. It can be done in a doctor's office. A
Oh,
couple of years back, there were some reports of women having issues with they're like these inserts. They're metal inserts that
okay.
grow into the fallopian tubes, into the tissue, and it creates a blockage.
Oh,
And so, yeah, I mean, it takes about 3 to 6 months to take effect. And it's so funny because one of the inserts actually fell out and they had to do it again.
oh shit.
So, but guess what? It worked. I have not been pregnant since March 4th of 2009 when I gave birth to my
Well, that's a
son.
beautiful thing. That is a
So,
beautiful.
absolutely. I said, that is something I will never have to worry about ever again.
Right.
So I'm very, very happy about that.
I don't blame you. So you have the oldest is a daughter and the youngest is a son. What's the middle one?
He's a boy too. Yeah,
Oh, you
I
got
have
two boys and a girl. Okay.
one girl and two boys.
That's
And
good.
yeah, my
That's
daughter's
good.
23. My boys are 15 and 12 now. So yeah, no
Oh, to that finish
little.
line, mama.
Oh
Getting to
my
that
gosh.
finish line anytime.
I am so looking forward to being an empty nester that I am just, oh boy.
That's great. Oh my! If anybody that doesn't know what empty nest syndrome is, it's when mom freaks out because all of her kids are gone and she doesn't know what to do with herself. So for somebody to say I'm waiting to get that syndrome, it's pretty funny.
Mhm.
No, but
I
I
won't
don't
be
blame
freaking
you.
out at all.
I mean, my kid's 30, and I'm not trying to like. I go out looking for a date, and somebody's like, "Oh, I got kids," and I'm like, "All right, cool. Well, good luck. I hope you find the one for you, because it
Right.
ain't me. I'm not restarting. I'm not going back.
Oh
I
my
just hit the zero on the end of that number. We ain't discussing, but no, I can feel that. I can feel that. So tell me, I want to know because for those of you who do not know, actually, why don't you tell people what you do?
Yeah, so I am the founder and president of Black Nonbelievers, which is based here in the Atlanta, Georgia area. It is a nonprofit organization that offers support and advocates for Blacks who are atheists and who are looking for community and who struggle with the non-religious identity, who struggle with their atheism, and who also have felt isolated for so long because they didn't know that there were others out there like them. And especially to be a woman in this position, to be a non-religious Black woman,
Yeah,
especially
that's
in the South, can be a
ooh,
challenge. So
right.
yeah. And we're a community-based organization, and so we've celebrated. We're in our 10th year this year, and this is what I was doing at the time that I was working at my at my last job. I was the event services manager at the conference center at the CDC, Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, and I was there for almost 10 years. But
Awesome.
as I became more involved in the secular community, I just realized that this is where my time was better spent, and I realized that this was something that I was really dedicated to. And having been raised non-religious and also kind of militant, I don't like this idea of being silenced and being shushed or suppressed. So that doesn't sit well with me at all. And I don't like, I really, really don't like when others feel like they have to hide parts of themselves just to get along, to go along with anyone else. And I'm just like, no, I don't, I don't subscribe to that at all. And so,
And what a perfect place to do it, because man, that's like it's almost the beginning. If you were a little closer to the ocean, you'd be at the beginning of the Bible Belt.
absolutely.
Yeah.
The one thing is that Atlanta is a pretty, it's a pretty liberal city, but it's still a southern city. There's a huge LGBTQ community here.
Yep.
And there's still lots of, religion too. There's a lot to do here. I mean, I love the city. I love the area. But yes, we are still dealing with a huge, a large concentration of religious folks, and it is the land of mega pastors, your Creflo Dollars, and the former Bishop Eddie Long, but Jamal Bryant has taken his place. So yeah, so we still have these hurdles that we're dealing with, but it was necessary. And I was glad that I was in a position to where my job couldn't be affected by my activism, because even though I wasn't working exactly for the CDC, I was a contractor. It was still like working for the government. You couldn't lose your job simply because you were an openly identified atheist. So
well, yeah, because they were like
yeah,
the first people ever mandated to not be prejudiced was the government.
absolutely.
I mean, not that it didn't happen, but
right.
there
Yeah.
was more
You could
rules
get
in
into
that
some,
direction to
you can
protect
get
people.
into some really big trouble if you discriminate against someone due to their lack of religious belief. So yeah, I was fortunate to be in a position where I was able to work, still have, still do the family thing, and also grow the organization. But after a while, um, when I realized that there was no room for advancement at my job in
Right.
my particular position, and partially because of the way I am. I think I'm pretty, I wouldn't say I'm disruptive, but I'm stubborn. And
I never seen that in you.
yeah, yeah, I'm pretty stubborn, and yeah, and there were just I really couldn't do that job the way I really needed to because of the environment there. And it just it really became a position that I outgrew. I'm glad I had the opportunity to take those skills and parlay them into growing BN, Black
Oh yeah,
non-believers, and
yeah.
working with other secular organizations. But as far as that job itself, sure, it was 9 to 5, guaranteed paycheck and stuff. But I was like, you know what, this is not where I saw my life. I didn't see myself settling there. So I made a decision in 2018 to resign from that job and then just take on activism full time.
Right.
Because in addition to running Black Nonbelievers. I've also served on a couple of boards. I currently serve on the boards for American Atheists and the American Humanist Association. And I mean, I'm pretty, I'm pretty fortunate. I was pretty fortunate that my popularity and the increase in requests for my appearances, had taken off. So I thought that was pretty awesome.
Hell yeah.
And so now I'm able to. I mean, sure, I have to, I have to hustle and I have to bust my ass, to fundraise for the organization, as well as and just keep up my own, just develop myself in my own independent career. I just became a humanist celebrant. So I did my first wedding back in May, which was awesome. So, this is, I don't regret. That was another important life decision I made, was just to leave that job. So, uh, I don't regret it at all. So
Right.
yes, I am fully involved and immersed in the movement.
Hmm.
And I am just, it's challenging at times, but I love it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. I will have to admit to everybody that when I first met Mandisa, I said, if you ever want to hire somebody, I would totally fucking work for you and help you fight this shit.
Thank
So,
you.
yeah,
Trust
because
me,
I
we're
mean,
working on that.
I just,
Mhm.
yeah, I just appreciate it. I appreciate people who, and the fact that you've had the opportunity to do it is amazing, because I've never been able to go, okay, I'm good financially, I'm going to stop doing this and I'm going to do what I want to do, and help people and advocate for people
Yeah,
and go out in
trust
the
me,
public
it took a while.
and
It
bring
took
people up. I would,
right.
oh yeah,
It
I
took a
know. It
while.
takes,
It
yeah.
took a lot of my own personal investment as well.
Oh, I'm sure.
There was a lot that I put in, a lot of blood, sweat, and tears that went into making sure that Black Nonbelievers sustained beyond simply a group in the Atlanta area, turning it into an organization, and also establishing ourselves as an organization that wasn't doing anything, you know, that wasn't doing anything particularly, um, that it's so special that no one else could do it, but knowing that we were doing something unique and special, but we wanted to make sure that we that we worked with alongside other organizations and other folks,
Yeah.
especially in the movement. So I really, it took, like I said, it took some time to get here.
Oh yeah,
And
I'm sure.
and because of the type of person that I am, I'm like, look, I don't just like to sit around and wait for things to happen. I try to make them happen. So
Right.
it was a scare, when I made the decision, I didn't take it lightly. It was scary. I
Mhm.
was wondering what the hell is going to happen. How is this going to? But this is, I've made life-changing decisions over the years. And yes, I was fortunate that there was a foundation, in my husband and, his place of employment, that allowed us to be able to do that. And knowing that I had gotten to the point where BN was able to get support needed from people, to
Right.
continue our work. So, and like I said, it took some years, it took a little while to get there, but once we started getting there, and we're still working at it. But, I was, I really, I had to make an informed and calculated decision to say, and it isn't something that I I recommend that people just rush into, because these are things that have to be planned out. They have to actually, it took a lot of me going to work Monday through Friday, doing things on the weekends, requesting time off from
Yeah.
work, so it was a lot of that. It takes a lot of
Yeah.
sleepless, or very, a few hours of sleep. um so, but it's worth it.
Yeah.
It's worth it to know that you are a part of something that is, I didn't realize how life changing it would be. I didn't realize that history would be made in these past 10 years.
Yeah.
And that I just wanted to lend my hand to what was already existing, and knowing that there was still a need to be, there was still a need to elevate and amplify those Black voices. I just
Right.
wanted to lend my hand to it. And lo and behold, 10 years later, you couldn't have told me that it would be here. So,
Yeah, right.
but I'm
Well,
glad,
no, I'm glad too, and I think it's one thing for a bunch of Black guys to get together and say we're going to do this because that's what's been happening, in the past. It's been ran by a lot of men because men needed to know that there was a man in charge, blah blah blah. And it's nice. It's nice to see more women of color coming up and getting in charge because all you're doing is bringing other people up with you. And that's amazing. And there's women out there that are scared of men and they don't want to come and say, hey, I'm a female atheist because shit has happened to women in the past, and
yes.
So they feel more comfortable walking up to a woman, and a lot of younger men will feel more comfortable walking up to a woman saying, hey, I need some help. So yes. I think it's amazing. So
I have certainly had my share of run-ins with men in this movement. I have my share of run-ins with some of everyone in this movement, but I have had to deal with some power-hungry dudes who did not want to listen to a woman who was at the head of an organization. Certainly, it was, like, who are you? Like, how dare you, tell me what to do? Or, yeah.
Yeah, it's like my Hispanic buddy that I used to hang out with, and he's half Hispanic, half Black. And people would come up to him. He'd be outside working his lawn, and he'd be like, "Yeah, who's the owner? I'm here to work on the roof." And he's like, "Dude, it's me."
Right.
Yeah, same shit. Like, no, you ain't in charge. There's gonna be somebody else, right? Yeah. Fuck that.
Exactly.
Anyways, don't get me started on that. I'm gonna kick you in the basement. We're gonna bring up our next guest, and we'll discuss that. We got plenty of time later. We're gonna have a good talk.
Cool.
So, thank you, Mandisa. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. Yeah, I could just talk to her all night. It's horrible. Like, I didn't even realize we've been going for 30 minutes already. So let's bring up our wonderful, amazing Phoebe J. Rose, the sauna lady, who was so kind to actually was brought to me today and said, hey, she wants to be on. And I said, lovely. And then I had a cancellation. So here we are. So Phoebe, how are you?
Well, 2:00 in the morning, I'm as wired as you can be.
With your 3 hours of sleep. Yeah.
Well, this
absolutely.
Is the way that I function. I've already done one stream tonight already.
Oh, I didn't even know that. Well, you're just primed and ready to go. I got you all warmed up.
I was on with the Hogfather. I was on with Mathpig earlier.
Oh, yeah, that's my buddy, right? That's one of my little bros.
Yeah.
That's one of my little bros right there. I love Mathpig. Good dude, man. So, same thing for you. Tell me about you, how you grew up, siblings, family dynamic, kind of area of the world, and all that fun stuff.
Well, all I can say is I'm not the person I was when I was growing up. And that's a fact.
Yeah, that is a fact. That is a fact. And I think all of us can say that in one shape or another. But for you, it's definitive. Yes.
It's a lot more physical. I'm physically not the person that I was when I grew up.
It's a fact. It's a fact.
So, yes. With me, my life is not the simplest of lives. But if you were to look at it from the outside, you'd say that was a comfortable life. But then when you actually peel away some of the layers, it's not the most comfortable of lives. And that really did shape me. I grew up in wonderful England. If you couldn't tell by this accent that I am British.
I had no... Oh, I thought it was... I thought you grew up in Texas. No, I'm kidding.
Oh, well, you never know. You never know with people nowadays. But if you couldn't tell I was British, then you really do need to, train that ear a bit better. But yes, I grew up in Britain in the 90s and 2000s to a nice married couple. And I have one brother, and I have an older half-brother. We don't talk about him, but we talk about my brother. He's a nice enough bloke. And it was very, very British, very middle class, very, very... How could you say anything bad about this? But that's where the problems begin. Because if you peel away those things and you actually go into these things, I had problems. I had real problems at home. My father was an abusive man, for example, and I was the one he was abusive to. Not my mother, not my brother, just me. So I grew up with that. And I had undiagnosed autism as well growing up. So I didn't actually have my autism diagnosed until I'm 25. And then you throw into that I have a slow reading speed as a result. So there I am, not being given anything extra and just being told to hurry up at school. So I can talk to you and talk to you and talk to you for hours and days and weeks and months. I can give you a stand-up presentation. But you try to get me to read a book. It took me 10 years to read the autobiography of Bill Clinton. Let that sink in. 10 years.
Well, you did better than me. I wouldn't have finished it at all. Because I'm ADD. I can't. I get a couple chapters in. I'm like.
All I can say
is that's a long time.
Is that in his prime, Bill Clinton was a very attractive man, as far as I'm concerned. In his prime, yeah, very attractive man. You can understand that level of attraction and why people voted for him. Ethically, uselessly horrible. Ethically, but he filled the bill. Southern, religious, white man.
Pun intended. Yeah. He did fit the bill.
But yeah, I remember growing up in the age of Bill Clinton, the age of Tony Blair, and then along in rolls George W. Bush. He ruined Britain. Not only did he ruin America, he ruined Britain. And growing up, he ruined Britain because he had somebody in power in Britain who was prepared to just be rammed up his backside and have a good sniff and go, yeah, that smelled great, Bill. That smelled great, George. I'll do whatever you like. You okay back there, Tony? And that's kind of where we ended up ruining this country. Because in Britain, we generally have parties in power for a fairly long time. They then fall out of power and then the other people take over. So we had the Labour Party in power. And good old Pinocchio, as my grandfather used to call him, Tony Blair, learned from George Bush on how to steal your civil liberties and get away with it, how to invade countries and get away with it, and how to leave office and then paint yourself as this messiah. So I grew up in that kind of environment. And in my late teens, I said to myself, I'm starting to question my gender. I'm starting to question who I actually am. So I socially transitioned at about the age of 15.
Okay.
And I was at a fairly religious school, and they wouldn't let me do anything other than socially transition the school. And then I got to about the age of 18. And college, university swings around. And I thought, oh, you know what? I'll give this being a bloke a try again. Didn't work out very well. And
It's
then by
really
the age
hard
of
to be someone that's not you.
No, it
I
really
would
isn't.
know.
It's really bad for your mental health as well. It's also bad for your physical health. So yeah, by the age of 20, I'd gone, fuck this. And here I am today. Phoebe in all her glory. Here I am today. So today, I am on the path of going back to university in January to become a proper social worker. Properly regulated, properly doing all the qualification stuff, and I'm looking forward to doing that. And
We are everybody everywhere needs more good anybody to help the public. So that's great.
this is not product placement.
I don't believe it because they already told me if you did that once, I was getting $5. No.
No, this is not product placement.
It's hot. It's hot in that sauna, damn it.
But yes, I'm going back to university to become a social worker, and this leads me to where I've come in my life over the past 6 years. And if you know who I am, you'll know this story already. And if you've watched me on Neil's channel, or you've watched me on Grumpy Old Dude's channel, or you've just followed me on the Twitter box.
It's okay. They've all forgotten. I know my chat. Half of them are high. The other half are drunk. Go ahead.
Now, here's the question. What percentage of them fall into the Venn diagram where it goes, we're both drunk and high?
Wait till the after party. I'll let you know.
But yes, I fell into the English Defence League. For those of you who don't know who the English Defence League, they are a rampant Islamophobic ethno-nationalist group in the UK. I was a propagandist for them, using this gift of the gab, talking to crowds. And if any of you know who Tommy Robinson is, he's the founder of that group.
Okay.
We're talking Islamophobes in suits that would hold rallies that were intentionally violent. And I'm sitting here as somebody who used to direct that violence. And...
well, you've changed.
Yes, I have changed. Here's the thing, though. I was an openly trans woman and an openly Jewish Zionist woman in that movement. I was Islamophobic, and that's all they cared about. I spoke the rhetoric. That's all they cared about. And for a good 4 years, I was quite high up the totem pole. I would go to the back of pubs. I would go to the back of cricket grounds. I would go to rallies. And I would be on a stage and I would have a crown in the palm of my hand. And they would do what I told them to do. I would have people that would tell me that I was the next Marine Le Pen of the UK. And for those of you who don't know who Marine Le Pen is, I suggest you go and look up the 2017 French presidential election and then tell me how much you vomited. Because I was a horrible human being. Genuinely a horrible human being. With a lot of pain and a lot of anger inside me. And I was channeling that anger with people that were giving me attention. People that were giving me what I wanted. I felt warmth from these people. It was a social group. We met online. And then we went down to a pub and had some drinks. Had some food. Had some crisps. Sung some karaoke. Played some darts. And that's where it formed. And that's where it went. And that's where it got bigger and bigger and bigger.
Right.
Then the pandemic hit. And in 2018, my grandmother died.
Ooh,
And
I'm sorry.
I then left a toxic relationship. And then in 2019, my step-grandmother died. And my grandfather died. And then in November of that year, I contracted stage 2 sepsis. And was 48 hours away from death. So from my shoulders down to my knees, I had sepsis rash. And when I went into hospital, I had a temperature of 40 degrees. 40 degrees centigrade.
Which is...
Give me 1 second.
no, it's okay. You don't have to do that. That's what I have Ox for. Ox, do that. Anyways, go ahead.
104.
104, yeah. So 108 is your brain starts getting fried. So
Yeah,
you're getting close
104.
to that. Yeah, not good. Yeah.
So and I'll show you this arm. This arm here. Nice arm here. That vein collapsed. That vein collapsed. And then this vein collapsed. And then this vein collapsed. Because I was dehydrated.
Yeah.
So then they were scrambling around and they found one in my ankle that could take fluids. And they were pumping fluids through my ankle, through the vein in my ankle. Because it was just, you just need this. And they were squeezing the bag and everything.
Oh, yeah.
And then
get it in you as fast as you can. Yep.
And then they went, well, this one's iced sailing, and we're just going to squeeze the bag again. And that was really weird. And I was in cooling blankets, and I was in hospital for 7 days, and all 7 of those days were in ITU isolation. Which was really fucking scary. And it was barrier nursing as well. And then, for those of you who don't know what barrier nursing is, that is where they walk in a hazmat suit because you're contagious. Or you're contagious and really weak. So if I had got a secondary infection, because it was MRSA that I had, that MRSA. So if I got a secondary infection, I would have been dead. And here's the thing though, I'd let this go for a few days because I didn't recognise the symptoms. I thought that I was just having the flu. It was November. It happens. Even though I'd had the flu jab. And the night it happened, I collapsed 3 times in quick succession.
Oh.
So I went into my kitchen and got one of those Brita jugs. And I collapsed with the glass. I filled up a glass and I'd collapsed with the glass. And the glass went... Whoosh, and the jug went... Whoosh, and I went... Whoosh.
Yeah.
Then I picked myself up, dazed and confused, and I nearly hit my head on my TV stand. Made of 2-inch thick glass for you Americans. 5 centimetre thick bit of glass that this is made of. Nearly hit my head on that. And I hit the floor hard. And I can't remember if I passed out, which probably means I did. And then I picked myself up and I aimed myself for my sofa, which is where my
soft
phone was.
landing. Yes.
Yeah. And then I just laid there and then I phoned my mother up and went, please come round and see me. I think I'm feeling ill. And she was like, oh. And then she comes round with her friend who's a nurse. And my mum's friend who's a nurse took one look at me and went,
hospital.
I'm phoning 999 and you're going to hospital now. And I had sepsis markers that were quite high. I had sepsis scores that were quite high. And yeah, so that whole level of trauma that I went through, that whole wonderful level of trauma that I went through. Then we had the pandemic hit. And then I reevaluated all the things because then about April of 2020, I got furloughed. For you Americans, furloughing in the UK is something different. Furloughing is a government scheme where the government pay you to stay at home. For public health reasons, the government will pay 80% of your salary for you to sit at home up to a limit of £2,500 a month. So they will just, please, for public health reasons, sit at home and do nothing. And I was also in a vulnerable group because I'm asthmatic. So asthma and COVID don't mix.
Yeah, no, not really.
So I went into what they called shielding, which meant I was legally prohibited from leaving my own house. And when I say legally prohibited, I was prohibited from going into my own garden.
Oh, geez.
This is just how ridiculous the UK government took it at points. It was not healthy to be stuck inside my own home for 100 days. I had food delivered, and my mother would periodically drive my car for me so that it didn't, die.
Yeah. Wow.
And yeah, so for 100 days I was in my own home. And during that time, you can do a lot of thinking about yourself, do a lot of projects. So I found out that I'm an Irish citizen, and I'm well on the way to getting my Irish passport.
Oh.
Because when else are you going to find the time to do genealogy and, speak to the government of Ireland and speak to people?
I'm bored. Let's investigate that spot on my toe.
Yeah, that's the kind of thing you do.
Absolutely.
Hashtag not product placement. Hey, Volvic, I want some sponsorship.
There you go. A little bit longer, I can get up to $10 off of that. There you go.
But yeah, and during
so you did a lot of soul searching and digging and figuring out more about Phoebe, right?
At one point, it then all hit me. It all hit me. I was physically ill for about 2 weeks because I realised what I had been doing. And at that point, I knew I was at rock bottom. And then I started to ask people, could you please not invite me to the events anymore. And in September last year, I got a credible death threat.
Well, that's fun.
They had left a note on my doorstep, and they left the barrel of a revolver with 6 live rounds in it on my doorstep. You phone 999. Hello, can I have the police, please?
Yeah.
Yes. Somebody has just left. Yes. Yes. Police then say, we advise you vacate the property immediately and have somebody else empty this property out and you move on. Which I did. So I don't live there anymore.
Well, that's
I now
good.
live somewhere else.
Right.
I now live in a sauna.
Yes, you live in a sauna. No.
And then gradually over 2020 and into 2021, I found out what I wanted to do with myself. I found out that I am an activist at heart. By nature, that's what I am. I'm a person who's good at helping others, a person who's good at doing things, got a lot of soft skills. So I started reaching out to people on Twitter. Did some professional pornography as well. That was really empowering and a lot of good fun. Because it gave me a lot more
I
confidence.
could
in
never.
myself.
Even in my best moments, I could never.
If you want to find my professional pornography,
I do not want to see my own ass anywhere.
You want to see my professional pornography? That's on you.
Mandisa's down the basement going, nope. Nope. She's just shaking her head, nope.
But yeah, it was quite empowering for me.
Yeah,
Because
well, there you
for the
go.
first time I'd looked at myself as somebody who was worth it.
Okay, well, good.
And then I started to reach out to people on Twitter. And then one person led to another person, led to another person, and I ended up going on Ed's channel, Grumpy Old Dude. And that was the first time I'd ever spoken about, well, anything about me. And that was the first time that I publicly announced to the world who I used to be.
Yeah.
And then one thing leads to another, and I end up on Neil's show because I was a Zionist. And before that, I was a Christian. And now I identify as an atheist. And when I was on Neil's show, I got myself thinking. And this is where I'm going to plug myself now. For those of you who haven't worked it out, this is where I plug myself. So I then took that away, and I now run my own interview series on my channel called Transition Stories, where I, a trans woman, interview trans people about their transition.
Good.
It doesn't matter how far through your transition you are, if you were once a transitioner and you've now detransitioned, or if you transitioned, detransitioned, retransitioned, re-detransitioned, and then re-retransitioned. It doesn't really matter.
Basically, any phase you're in, Phoebe will talk to you.
It doesn't matter whether you're binary, non-binary, tri-gendered, two-spirited. It doesn't really matter to me.
Two-spirited.
Hey, you laugh at that. You laugh at that. But a good Cree friend of mine would slap you up about the head for laughing at that.
Oh, I'm sorry. It just struck me funny.
Two-spirited is legitimately a Native American gender. Native Americans have, according to my Cree friend, have about 9 regular genders, and two-spirited is one of them.
Okay. I'm cool with that.
So when you have people that turn around and go, oh, there's only 2 genders, 2 sexes.
Oh, God. Whatever. It doesn't even
Guess
matter
what?
anyways. Who gives a fuck? Who
That
gives
kind of
a
language.
fuck?
That kind of language.
Why does there have to be black and white and certain gray stripes? I don't even understand that. I don't
Because
even
that's
think
what
it fucking
television
matters.
used to be. Because that's what
Well,
television
no,
used
it's
to be.
because that's what religion wants it to be.
No, I think it's because people grew up in the age of television that was black and white and used to, be analog. So therefore, they want
It was
a nice
actually
crystal
technically
clear.
not black and white. It was different shades of gray.
It was grayscale, yeah. It was grayscale, and black was switched off, and white was on as much as possible. So if you
Okay,
saw-
sure. I don't know really.
So if you
know.
saw white on your television, it was just it was as bright as it could possibly be. And if you saw black, it was just they'd switched it off for that bit.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing is that you decided, and I'm sure that had played some part in you wanting to become a certified social worker to help people.
Oh, absolutely. I'd done social work before I entered into the world of, how can we say it, lunacy
Yeah, lunacy. Yeah,
and
hatred.
hatred and lunacy. And I'd worked with asylum seekers, and it made me really bitter because I saw the wrong kind of asylum seekers.
Yeah.
I saw 16 to 18-year-old asylum seekers who were mainly here to scam the UK. They weren't here for reasons that were legitimate. Some of them were, but a lot of them weren't. A lot of them had heard that in Britain you can stay, you can work, you can get benefits, you can get free healthcare, and they were just here for that. So they weren't fleeing persecution. And I had got really bitter about that. And that fed into me going down the path that I'd gone down. So here I am today. Round the loony bin, still. My apologies if that offends anybody, but,
No.
cross cultures. But somebody in your chat may get offended by that, so if I head that off now.
Yeah. Let me say really quick, because people are saying, Granny was saying she's having trouble with things buffering. If any of you are on Twitch, I am also streaming this on Twitch right now, and it is B No Just B. So if you guys want to go over there and try that out, if YouTube's giving you fits, Twitch usually is a little smoother than with StreamYards than YouTube is. So I'm trying something new tonight. So if anybody has Twitch and wants to go over there and see how it's working and let everybody know, that's great too. The after party will also be streamed on both of them. So,
B is breaking the internet. Don't tell the internet.
it's Ben's fault, but we'll talk about that in the after party because I'm
We
getting that little
always-
sucker up here. We're going to blame it
Always
on him.
blame Ben. Full stop. Just blame Ben.
So
yeah.
I'm going to...
To
So I
conclude
want...
what I was saying. To conclude what I was saying.
Yeah.
I now want to make the world a better place. I now work in counter-radicalisation and counter-extremism in my spare time. I now work to try to get the voices of trans people out there so that we can humanise trans people. And I now want to be a social worker so that I can help those most vulnerable in society. And I'm here today talking to B because, I don't know, why am I here talking to you?
Because you love me, and I love
Okay.
you, and you're part of the community, and I want people to get to know you. And I want to spread more friendships and knowledge and people getting to know each other and helping each other and more community. So that's why you're here.
By Volvic.
And more Volvic. By Volvic, yes. No. By Volva. What? No, we're not talking about that right now.
Look,
So
if we're going to shill Swedish car manufacturers, it's got to be from that IKEA charity.
So I'm gonna bring Mandisa back up here so we can chat for a few minutes. And then when we're done chatting,
Hey, Phoebe. For the record, I am not against porn. I'm not against. I wasn't against that.
no.
I
I
thought it
was
was
saying
just
you
kinda
were saying the
funny.
same thing as me.
I
Like,
mean,
oh, hell
I'm
no,
not
I will
sure
not.
I would. Hey,
That's what I
I'm
was
not.
saying.
I'm not opposed to actually doing it either. But
Really?
I'm not saying. Yeah, no.
Damn. Let me know
I'm
when
not-
that channel comes out. I'll sub.
I am.
Sorry,
I don't knock it. I don't
I
knock
hope
that
my
bag at
Dutch
all.
girlfriend is not listening as I say I like some tan skin. But anyways,
Yeah.
just saying. No, I
There's
like
no
all
only
skin.
balance
It
for
don't matter
everyone.
to me. She looks good. I want to touch it. That's how I am.
All I
Um,
can say to you, B, is there's an only bards for everyone.
It's what?
There's an only bards for everyone because I can't say what it actually is on this platform.
I don't
Facts,
know.
no printers,
I've never
only
been one to.
scans.
I've never been
Yeah.
one to give a shit about the color of skin. I just don't care. I think that there are horrible people that are ugly on the inside and makes them ugly on the outside. And I think that there's people that are beautiful on the inside, and I don't give a fuck what they look like. It makes them beautiful on the outside. So I don't care. I have I have stuttered in front of Shania Twain, and as much as I have stuttered and fumbled and couldn't write in front of Regina King. So, I mean, I've had crushes all around the damn world. And if those damn Indian people were more open to gay relationships, I might have even married one.
Well, that took a weird turn. That
shit.
took a really weird turn, that did.
You tell me how many gay women from India you meet in the United States. That shit is hard to find. I'm telling you.
You mean from the indigenous or?
Oh yeah,
like
no, not Native Americans.
Oh, okay.
Indian women from India. They are just, some of them are. I mean,
oh, you mean from the Indian
there's ugly people
subcontinent.
everywhere too, but some of them women are just, and they're all so straight. So
what I will say to you is, when you do one day get Ben on, you two are just going to have an Indian stream, because he can speak Hindi. And he's one of the biggest Indiophiles I've ever met in my life.
Let me say real quick. I got to respond to this. DKH, green skin from mold and fungus is not an ethnic color. That is a fucking sickness, and the person's probably dead already.
What I would say,
if they aren't, they will be soon. So no, that is not considered. No.
If that's the kind of thing you're doing, please make sure that you're not actually interfering with that corpse, because interfering with that corpse is a crime in most jurisdictions.
I'm going to tell you, I ain't never seen any person that was, except for certain extremities, that they were cutting off. Anyways, that's disgusting. We're not talking about that. Randolph said they're all in British Columbia. You know what? Screw you, Randolph. And next time I'm single, I'll come visit. Anyways, she'll get sick of me eventually. They all do. So does anybody have any serious questions for the chat, or should we take a 5-minute break and jump over to the after party, let everybody get a beverage and a pee break, and we can jump over there. Anybody? Anything? Got anything else to say? Okay. And he's like, I don't know.
I have
my
more
shit.
to say, but if I say too much, then guess what? We'll be running on forever.
Yeah, no, and I know that's why I appreciate you behaving and holding off for me, and we can after party for hours.
There's a good reason that I know how to stop. I know how to start. It's because I'm a good call screener. I know how to shut people off. I know how to keep talking with people.
Oh well, okay, fair enough. All right, so I put of course, you guys know the links in the private chat for you two. Anybody who wants to jump in, hit me up on Twitter. I will check that as we're getting started. We're going to take a break here, jump over there, and hey, Ox, throw that link to the after party into the chat for me, please, if you will, do not mind, so people can jump over there easier. Not that anybody in here is not sub to me, because that would be very disappointing. I'm just
sub to me, please.
I'm just saying.
Sub to me, please.
Ox always throws out links for my guests. I don't even have to worry about it. So if people go, "Where's the link?" Is it in the description? I'm like, no, it's mystery guests. You can't put the links in for people. I think that would ruin it.
Sub to Mandisa. She's awesome.
She is awesome.
To her. I got to listen to her through some headphones before everyone else did, because I, as a call screener, got to hear it 15 seconds before everyone else.
Yeah, Mandisa is great. And by the way, when we get in the after party, I want you guys to tell everybody where else you can be found as well, because I know both of you are on random stuff everywhere. So everybody, yes, thank you, Ox. I appreciate that. Everybody click on that link. We'll see you all in 5 or ish minutes. Like I said, hit me up on Twitter if you want to come in. If you do not decide to come over, I have a couple of things to say. Take care of yourselves, take care of one another, and have some peace in your life. And we'll see you in a few.